on vacation. So as always, we're going to be covering 10 builds in total, 2 for every single role that are extremely powerful right now for patch 14.5. In line to make a push back into the meta for this patch due to his crazy direct buffs, let's set you guys up for the optimal build for the champ. Instead of building full-out Bruiser on Wukong, there's a more offensive setup that's seeing really great results, and it revolves around Eclipse as a core pickup. Right now, it seems like any champion that can abuse Eclipse should be abusing Eclipse, as it's one of the most OP items in general. It's super easy for Wukong to proc the passive from Eclipse, since he can get off 3 separate attacks or abilities extremely fast. You pair Eclipse up with Trinity Force, and both of the item's passives come together to provide Wukong with some really nice upfront burst. The third item can either be Sundered Sky if you want more durability, or Ravenous Hydra if split pushing is your win condition. The optimal rune page to go along with this build is Conqueror, followed by Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Run Sudden Impact and Ingenious Hunter for secondaries. The Ingenious Hunter aspect is key here, as it reduces the cooldowns of the passives from Trinity and Eclipse. You'll see Eclipse builds popping up a fair amount in today's video, and another top lane champion who can run the item that's definitely more underrated with it right now is Poppy. The core build for Poppy has her rushing the Eclipse and then going into Winter's Approach second. Once you've transformed Winter's Approach into Thimble Winter, you get the shield whenever you have your look to trade. You're going to be getting double shielding from these 2 items. Now, ideally, if the game permits it, Spirit Visage is going to be your third purchase because it amps the effect of shielding by 25%. Now, of course, if you're going against a full AD comp, you don't want to just go Spirit Visage for the passive, so in that case, Frozen Heart is a good alternative. So, overall, this build is perfect for solo queue on Poppy because the Eclipse Rush works wonders to offer more early to mid-game kill threat, and then you transition into more tanky items for a better team fight as the game progresses. A lot of players are going to be caught off guard by how much damage Poppy's going to deal with this Eclipse Rush, so you should find yourself picking up some really free kills. The best rune page with this build is Grasp, followed by Shield Bash, Bone Plating, and Revitalize. Make sure to take Cheap Shot and Ingenious Hunter for secondaries. This build for Volibear jungle should be played way more than it is right now, as it's giving him so much strength. Instead of rushing Iceborne Gauntlet and building full tank volley, look to go a bit more offensive by rushing Sundered Sky. Sundered Sky Rush works great for solo queue because it allows you to push leads better and skirmish really well. The heal proc from Sundered Sky combined with the shield from Volibear E and heal from Volibear W gives him a really crazy amount of sustain on that one item spike. At the time of making this video, Sundered Sky Volibear users are winning a whole 5% more than Iceborne users, which is just a wild spread. After building Sundered Sky, that's where you transition into your tank items, as Deadman's Plate, Spirit Visage, and Iceborne Gauntlet are all viable options. The rune page finding the most success for solo queue on Volley is Press the Attack with Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight are the secondaries. Briar has been one of the most OP junglers for Season 14, but what if we told you there's a new build very few people are playing that makes her even more broken? Instead of going Lethality with Ghostblade or Bruiser with Titanic Hydra, you're dropping both of those builds and rushing Eclipse. The issue with Lethality Briar is that she's super squishy, while the issue with Bruiser is that you just don't do enough damage as you'd like sometimes. But with this build, it meets in the middle and offers Briar a bit of everything. Eclipse provides you with 70 AD and also has its passive that provides bonus damage, so you have a really good amount of early game burst by rushing the item. For the second item, you transition into Sundered Sky, and your third pickup is Steric's Gauge. With these purchases, you still have a good amount of durability for the later stages of the game, but by running Eclipse, you're not missing out on any burst strength to help you snowball early on. Of course, you also get a little bit of durability from Eclipse due to its passive shield, so it's really the perfect item for Briar. The rune setup that you're going to take with this build is very important to note as well. It's not Hail of Blades or Conqueror that you're running, as Press the Attack is the pickup. As a result of his 14-4 buffs, a lot of pro mid laners have started picking up Jace mid again, and there's a very unique build that they're running. Showmaker is one pro that's been spamming Jace in solo queue, and he's not actually building Ghostblade, even though it's the most common among the average player nowadays. Opportunity is the rush item, and then Hubris is also a core pickup. Of course, you'll want to slot Manamune into your build at some point as well, and Showmaker has been liking it as a second pickup. Jace actually has a lot of value with Opportunity because he can really take advantage of its passive to the fullest. Whenever you're out of combat for 8 seconds, you gain an extra 5 scaling scaling to 10 lethality. This makes Opportunity the item with the most amount of lethality in the game and allows for Jace's poke to hit really hard. Of course, when you jump into a fight with Jace, he doesn't have a very good tool to help him escape, so the second passive on Opportunity that provides movement speed on takedowns works amazing for him too. The rune page that Showmaker's been running with this build consists of Phase Rush, Mana Flow, Absolute Focus, and Scorch, while the new Season 14 rune called Triple Tonic is paired with Biscuits for secondaries. We saw it tank Azir a little bit during Season 13, and it's been starting to make a comeback over the past patch. The entire setup is super wonky, as the build and rune page are extremely unique. For the build, Liandris is the only offensive item that you're going to be building, and it's what you should rush. Now that Liandris provides health for Season 14, it makes it an even better fit for this more durable build. Second item is solely going to depend on what damage type you're worried most about from the enemy team. If the enemy team has more magic damage, Abyssal Mask is the way to go. Against a heavier AD comp, you slot in Frozen Heart. Whichever item you don't grab second is usually a good third pickup as well. In games to where the enemy comp is full AD or full AP though, you can grab Riftmaker as the third pickup. As for the rune page, instead of running Fleet Footwork, Grasp is actually outperforming it. Who'd have thought that Grasp Azir would have the highest win rate for any rune setup in Season 14, but here we are. Kog'Maw is buffed for 14.5, so he's going to be much better, and a build that so many players are missing out on right now revolves around building Terminus earlier in your build path. Terminus was just buffed last patch, so that you can reach max stacks in half the amount of time. Prior to those buffs, Terminus was only a late game pickup because realistically, you wouldn't be auto-attacking enough early on to reach good value from the passive. Now that you don't need the auto nearly as much to reach max stacks, Terminus is a great rush item on Kog'Maw and being heavily slept on. The 2-item core of Terminus and Blade of the Ruined King is looking really strong right now. The bonus armor and magic resist you get from Terminus is really great for Kog, as he's an ADC that lacks any sort of reliable self-peel or mobility. The rune page that you should run with this build is Lethal Tempo, followed by Triumph, Bloodline, and Last Stand. Grab Conditioning and Overgrowth for secondaries. There is a new build for Zeri that started to pick up traction over in Korea as of recent, and it revolves around Black Cleaver. If you guys didn't know, Zeri has incredible synergy with Black Cleaver because of how her Q interacts with Black Cleaver's passive. Zeri Q gives you an instant 5 stacks of the Black Cleaver passive, so whenever you're skirmishing with the item, you're going to be getting all of that armor pin as soon as you begin hitting a target. In 14.4, Black Cleaver's armor pin at max stack was increased by 1%, so even though it's not a huge deal, it could be the reason why more players have been experimenting with the build. The complete core build for Zeri that's seeing the best results right now has her rushing Static Shiv, going Phantom Dancer second, and then slotting in Black Cleaver third. Cleaver third is going to work really nicely for Zeri because that's the point of the game to where having that armor reduction to shred through tankier targets is really nice. The added durability that Zeri receives due to the health from Black Cleaver is also extremely good for her because it allows her to play a bit more aggressive in fights and not be as frail. Rune page with this build is standard stuff as you're going Lethal Tempo, Triumph, Bloodline, and Last Stand, followed by Conditioning and Overgrowth for secondaries. This new Zilean build is definitely not one that we saw coming, but it's currently his highest win rate build for solo queue. Warmogs is the rush item as you're basically building Zilean as a tank. The support item upgrade is Solstice Slay as it's super easy for Zilean to proc. Whenever you slow an enemy with Zilean E, you're able to proc Solstice Slay, so with this Warmogs rush, you're playing Zilean more like a frontline champion. You can get right up in the enemy's face, slow him with E, and not have to worry about dying right away due to all the health from Warmogs. The Warmogs also makes it so that you can be way more aggressive, looking for double bomb queues. When the enemy is slowed by Zilean E, it's super easy for him to line up a double bomb and stun the enemy in place. So the whole idea behind this build is for Zilean to be much more of a disruptor in fights, landing consistent CC instead of sitting back and playing safe from range. The rune page with this build is going to be Grasp, followed by Font of Life, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. The best secondaries are Mana Flow and Transcendence. With the Solstice Slay support item upgrade being nerfed for 14.5, there's a really OP alternative that you should be looking to run on Leona. Even prior to these Solstice Slay nerfs, the Bloodsong support upgrade has been outperforming and is being slept on for Leona. As a champion who wants to be super aggressive, diving in and finding catch plays, Bloodsong makes so much sense for Leona. You'll have more damage yourself so that you can burst out targets quicker, and then you can provide your teammates with a damage amp that allows them to come in and clean up the kills. High elo Leona players have actually caught on to the strength of Bloodsong to a certain extent, with about 20% of Master Tier Leonas running it. In low elo though, nobody's paying attention at all, with gold elo Leonas only picking up Bloodsong in 5% of their games. Since the majority of the player base is below Master Tier, there are so many Leona players that have yet to realize the strength of Bloodsong, but hopefully that changes in 14.5. For the complete Leona build this patch, Bloodsong with Zeke's Convergence and Locket is going to work great. The Keystone Rune is Aftershock with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching. Roll with Biscuits and Cosmic Insight for